That's right, we're talking about the Fear the Walking Dead finale. Okay guys, so let's talk about episode 16, the Walking Dead finale, Sleigh Ride. Now Sleigh Ride opens with what? But Sleigh Ride, the actual song that it's referencing, that Christmas song. So that Christmas song is playing, and basically Madison wakes up to her Christmas dinner of a house. And outside her house, there's some tombstones. Now remember, in the episode before this, Madison was talking to Strand and telling him that she misses Christmas dinner with her family. She just misses them having them all together. And I'm not sure if it was a dream sequence as much as it may have been a metaphor for the whole episode, because we saw that the whole house and the Christmas theme was kind of interconnected throughout the whole episode. So let me touch on this before I get into the episode. She had Christmas dinner basically put together, and the Otto boys, their graves were in the front, right? It was Jeremiah, the father, then it was Jake, then it was Troy. And we saw that Luciana was there, which is Nick's girlfriend who pieced out. Remember I was asking you what Nick's girlfriend was? Well, there she is. They're there, they have a baby, and the baby looks like it could be a zombie baby because it was buzzing like a zombie buzz, right? So we didn't know if when they drove away it was a zombie. And later on we saw all the characters inside the house, and they were all having a good old time, you know, Christmas dinner. And did you see that this part of this episode could have easily been like a cast party, like a rap party, because we saw all the characters from season 3 sitting around the table, and some of these characters never even met. Think about it. Strand never met Jeremiah. Jeremiah Otto never met Strand. And Strand, when he walks in, he kisses Jeremiah on the top of the head, basically saying, hey, like they've known each other for a while. And then you saw Daniel, and he was okay with Strand. Strand threw him a gift, and Daniel was like, you sucker, I see ya. Like it was all corny like that. And basically, this could have easily been a rap party for the cast. But what rap party for the cast ends with somebody's head being chopped off? Because that's Taka ended up doing to Otto's character. He chopped his head off. So that's why it became kind of a nightmare. And at the end of it, we saw that basically that Travis reached down and helped Madison out of that grave that pulled her down. So this was, I'm not sure if it was a metaphor as much as it was a dream sequence, as much as it was a fantasy. But it was, I found it very confusing, and at times I know that they were going for more of a dramatic effect and more cinematic effect. Kind of summarized the season for me, but I felt it could have been all left out. It was kind of confusing, and I really didn't think it added that much. And if you took away the song, then there was basically no reason besides calling this episode Sleigh Ride. But let's move into the actual episode. Now, we saw that Alicia, she has the worst luck, y'all. So she ran away from Madison, right? That's the reason she left. She said basically, surviving is killing me. That's the quote that I love from Alicia, surviving is killing me. Having to kill all these people in this pantry to survive was too much on my soul. And we saw that Alicia is basically the best one of them all. In my opinion, she probably has the best spirit of them all. She's still the most human of them all. And she's tried not to kill for no reason. Now Alicia, she left, but she ended up mixing it up with this friend that she found. And her friend has an affinity for chopping fingers and pulling teeth, right? Because she's selling them at some type of swap meet. So they're in a car, they get attacked, and these guys who attack them don't have guns. So they basically have knives or hammers, and they attack them. And we saw who Alicia truly is, because she didn't kill none of them. When she finally got her gun, she shot it up in the air, warning shots to scare these guys away. And even though her friend was on the floor with her leg all mangled, she's like, kill them, kill them. She's like, no, she didn't kill none of them. She just shot in the air. And that perfectly tells you who Alicia is compared to her family, because Madison would have put them all down. And so Alicia takes her friend to see a doctor, and this doctor gets her freaking involved in something much bigger than her that she doesn't want anything to do with. Now, let me just point out that her friend was passed out, right? And her leg was being worked on. And we never saw her friend again. So bye-bye. I guess we'll see you next season, right? She's gone. So this doctor basically introduces Alicia to Proctor John, John Proctor. I'm not sure which one goes before him. And he's basically the leader of the Proctors, this gang that we find out that went from motorcycle gang to try them being more enterprising in their profiteering while in the apocalypse. So basically they're thinking of becoming some type of government or ruling body, and they're basically doing what Negan and the survivors are doing. They're taking up land, and they think this real estate of this dam looks like pretty good real estate. So they want the dam for their own purposes, basically. And looks like Victor Strand worked out some type of deal with them. They were gonna, according to Victor, if you can believe Strand, I'm not sure if you can, they already had plans to take over the dam. but he looks like he owed them. He's always owing somebody because he's always conning somebody. So he owed them, and he basically promised to deliver the dam to them with no blood loss. Basically, he said he was gonna have them sneak in, and nobody would have to die from his crew, from their team, obviously. But looks like they always had plans to kill the Water Queen, who they're talking about, Lola, and probably Daniel and anybody else who was there. So Victor basically sold out Daniel, even though we know that he really didn't care for Daniel much because Daniel basically promised to kill him next time he saw him. So he sold them out to the Proctor gang, right? Well, Victor ends up putting himself in this messed up situation like he always does. But back to Alicia. Alicia ends up with her friend who's been injured, taking her to the doctor. And then she ends up basically being this nurse for this psychopath, right? This guy who's the leader of this gang. He's a really interesting character. I really think I like him as a villain, and I can kind of see that he has some depth to him. And he definitely brought different gravitas to this episode. I really enjoyed the actor working in this episode. I really enjoyed what he brought to it. And I like the fact that the Proctor gang as being someone who they face, because they basically been missing out on a big villain like that since Taka became basically their ally. So they attack the dam, and when they attack the dam, they take losses because Nick and Troy showed up and basically told them, hey, they were coming. So Alicia, she's been trying so hard to get away, right? But here she is being the nurse or the assistant to this John guy. And she sees Strand, and she can't tell Strand, hey, what's up, Strand? How you doing? Because they have to fake it like they don't know each other at this moment because they really don't know where they are. But looks like John, he picked up on that, and he basically said, Alicia, where you know Strand from? And you can just tell at that point that this villain, he's working on a different level. He's a little bit smarter than the average bear. Basically leads to everybody being themselves. Madison is facing a position where she has to fend for her children. She tries to speak up, but basically she has no negotiating power in this episode. She's basically to the side, and basically she's at the whims of this psychopath who's this guy John. And you can tell that he's basically cold and calculating, and you can tell that from how he's working in the office and how he tells them, hey, let's have a happy family reunion. Meanwhile, you're basically gonna kill them after this. And you're gonna say, I'm gonna kill him, and then I'm gonna kill her, and I'm gonna let Mama Bear basically watch. So you can tell this guy's a little bit off, and he's calculating, and he's your typical Walking Dead villain. Someone who the apocalypse is taken and molded. But you can basically see that this guy was already a villain. He was basically already running a motorcycle gang before the apocalypse, and he kind of just slid into this new position as post-apocalyptic gang member, right? Someone died in this episode who I kind of saw it dying from the beginning, and that was Ephraim. Ephraim was the guy who found Daniel and helped him nurse him back to health, and he introduced Daniel to Lola. So Lola and Ephraim both died in this episode, and it's basically this is the overhead message that the Fear the Walking Dead and the Walking Dead have been telling us: good people die. The bad live, the evil live, the good die. And Ephraim and Lola were two people who were good and had good aspirations in mind, and they wanted to give it to the people of water, and they ended up dying. And you saw Ephraim. There was an interesting shot at the end after Nick blows the dam, where they pan to the water in the dam just gushing out, and they pan to Ephraim's body. And that was basically them kind of a little homage. Look, Ephraim, even in death, you finally got what you wanted, is the water to the people, right? You heard the power to the people. This was water to the people. And Lola died. Lola at the end became someone who she didn't want to be, someone who she wanted to be a good person. And again, the good die young, and she ended up being killed by John. I didn't expect that. I kind of thought maybe she would get away with Daniel, but that didn't happen. And Daniel was injured, and at one point, I'm not sure if it was like a spiritual thing. Remember, Daniel, this whole season has been having like this subtext happening with him where it's like a spiritual realization is coming. With the lightning struck, and now when they killed Lola, he kind of looked up and he was like, that was Lola. And at that moment, he went into black Sombra, dark shadow mode, right? He went to his former self, and Daniel is good it's good watching him work, y'all. He's basically assassin Terminator Daniel. When he saw those three guys, he was like injured, and he's like pow, 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 and he just cleared the room. That's Daniel, y'all. So I had no doubts that if Daniel got up there, he was gonna kick John and his Proctor gang's ass. And that's what he was leading to, right? Basically, Daniel was going to take care of business. And as he worked his way up, we saw that Nick, who put himself in a position that I think was really homey for Nick. I feel like Nick, that's where he lives. When he took that detonator, remember that Strand had the detonator, right? He took it from Madison. And when he took that detonator from him, I thought he was giving him a kiss. He was being sentimental. No, Nick was being Nick. Nick was looking at danger and fear in the eye and saying, you know what, I got this. And I have no doubt that Nick was prepared to sacrifice and martyr himself. And John, he obviously, this John Proctor guy, he's just met Nick. And even though he said, you have the bravery of a junkie Jesus, you recognize that he definitely had a sickness to him, which is addiction. He didn't know that Nick was fearless. He doesn't know what Nick has been through. And he thinks he's bluffing, but he was not bluffing, y'all. Nick blew the damn. And his family was pulled into, like, I'm not sure if you call it a riptide, because it was basically pulled them back. And at the end, all the characters basically sank, right? But Nick, he had it in him. They didn't know who they were playing with. And at the end, we see that Nick and Daniel on the top. And I'm hoping that Daniel somehow knows some type of escape route, because he's been working on the dam for a while now. So he basically, I'm hoping he has some type of tunnel and he sneaks Nick out. I don't think that John Proctor guy, I don't think he's done. I think we're going to see much more of him. He's a very interesting villain. And I think he's going to live on to season 4. I think he's going to escape this whole damn thing pretty much unscathed. Now, as far as Madison, we saw that Travis reached down and gave her the hand, right? And he pulled her up. And she was at the same time having that whole fantasy where she was being pulled down. And by fantasy, I mean nightmare. I'm not sure if you guys are into that. It was a nightmare that she was being pulled down by the infected, right? So Travis reached down. And Travis has always been the best part of her. And that's why, again, the good die young. And Travis, he died because he was a good character. And that's something that we saw again with Lola and we saw with Frain in this episode. So I'm thinking that Daniel and Nick made it off the dam. I'm thinking that John Proctor made it off the dam. There's some question marks, y'all. Did Strand survive the water? I'm thinking he did, but basically they left that up to us to wonder till season 4. We don't know what happened to Strand. We don't know what happened to Alicia. We definitely saw that Madison was pulled up into I think the southern part of the wall was Mexico and the northern part was America, or headed towards America. And we saw that Walker and Crazy Dog came back with the sniper assist. So they assisted them. And then you saw that Walker wanted to go back to see if they were okay, but Crazy Dog was like north. For that moment, he looked down and he said, I did everything I could, basically. We came back and we helped you as much as we could. And he said north. So those characters, I think, are going to be making an exit for season 4. We're not going to see Walker and Crazy Dog. They're going to go out and find the rest of their nation. But we definitely saw that Madison made it out the water. And I think this whole fantasy nightmare thing is basically her washing herself for season 3 and getting ready for season 4. So what's happened to Strand? Did Nick and Daniel survive? Did Alicia survive? Did Strand survive? Are we going to see more John Proctor and his injured ass back? These are all questions for season 4. I definitely enjoyed this season. I thought this was a great season. I'm looking forward to season 4 and looking forward to the answers to all these questions that I just keep throwing at y'all. So did you guys enjoy this season? Did you guys enjoy these 2 episodes? Let me know in the comments. Again, we're in the part of the video where it's like time, it's comment time. You've heard me talk. Let me know, guys, what you thought about this season. A lot of good moments to talk about in these 2 episodes. Definitely put them down in the comments. As always, I'm The Tone Show. If you guys like what I do on this channel, it's time to subscribe, it's time to like, and it's time to leave a comment. This is The Tone Show, and I'm out, and I'm out, and I'm out.